Have you ever stared at your electricity bill and just wondered who comes up with these numbers? Well, today, we're pulling back the curtain on the powerful and, let's be honest, often mysterious organization behind it all, the National Electric Power Regulatory Authority, or as we'll call it, NEPRA. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to use a really simple idea to get our heads around it. NEPRA as the referee of the power sector. From there, we'll dig into what they actually do, their 5 main jobs. Then we'll see what a typical day looks like for them, how all this stuff connects directly to you, and finally, we'll zoom out to see the whole playing field.
Okay, let's get right into it. First things first, what in the world is NEPRA?
You know the feeling, right? You're looking at your electricity bill, you see all these different charges, these taxes, and you just think to yourself, who is actually setting these prices? Where do these numbers come from?
Well, that's where NEPRA comes in. They're the ones. They were set up way back in 1997 as an independent authority with one massive job, to regulate the entire electricity supply in Pakistan.
Okay, to make this super clear, let's think of it like this. Imagine Pakistan's entire power sector is a huge, important game. You've got the players, those are the companies making and delivering the power. And then you have the fans in the stands, that's you and me, the consumers. So who's the referee in the middle of all this, making sure it's a fair game? Yep, that's NEPRA. Their job is to make sure everyone is playing by the rules.
So if they're the referee, what's in their official rule book? What are they supposed to be doing? Well, it really boils down to 5 core jobs. All right, first and foremost, the big one we all feel in our wallets, setting the tariffs, basically deciding the prices. Second, they act as the gatekeepers, so they're the ones who award licenses to any company that wants to get into the power business. Third, they write the rules of the game. That's the overall regulation part. Fourth, they make sure people are actually following those rules, which is all about monitoring and enforcement. And last, but definitely not least for us, they're the ones who handle consumer complaints.
Okay, so that's the official job description. But what does that actually look like day to day? You know, when the game is on, what kind of calls is this referee making?
Well, for one thing, they're constantly dealing with something called fuel charges adjustments, or FCA. This sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. The price of fuel, like oil or gas, that power plants use changes all the time on the world market. NEPRA's job is to adjust your electricity price to reflect that. It's one of the main reasons your bill can go up or down each month. And what happens when a player breaks a rule? Well, NEPRA issues something called a show cause notice. Think of this as the referee pulling out a yellow card. If a power company messes up, maybe on safety, or they're just not performing well, NEPRA steps in and says, hey, explain yourselves. And this can lead to some pretty hefty penalties. Now, what's really important is that these big decisions aren't made in some secret room. For major things like changing the price you pay for electricity, NEPRA actually holds public hearings. This is a chance for everyone involved, including the public, to have their say before anything is set in stone.
And they're not just focused on today, they're also playing the long game. A big part of their job is to look at multi-year plans for upgrading the grid. They're making sure that our power system can actually handle our country's future needs, so we don't have major problems down the road.
All right, so we've seen the high-level stuff, but now let's bring it right back down to earth. What does all of this mean for you, for your wallet, and maybe even more importantly, for your safety? Well, first off, it means you have a voice. You have a direct way to get problems solved. And when you see the numbers, you'll realize just how important that is. Get this, in just 10 months, NEPRA received over 17,000 complaints. And we're not talking about small stuff. These are real issues people are facing, like being constantly overbilled or having a meter that just isn't working right. It shows there's a real system in place to help you fight your corner. And here's the kicker. They're not just collecting these complaints in a file somewhere, they're actively resolving them. I mean, look at this. The huge majority of them, about 87%, were actually dealt with and resolved. That tells you the system is actually working for people. And to make things even more straightforward, they've even got a mobile app called the NEPRA Asan Approach. It's designed to be super simple. You can log a complaint and track its progress all from your phone. It really does put some of the power back in your hands. But, you know, it's not all about bills and complaints. NEPRA has another job that is, frankly, even more important. We're talking about public safety. And in this area, the standards they set can literally be the difference between life and death. This is why you see them running public awareness campaigns. They're trying to get simple but absolutely critical advice out there. Things we should all know, like never ever using electrical appliances with wet hands, keeping kids away from electrical stuff,
staying a good distance from power poles when it's raining, using proper 3-pin plugs. These might sound like basic tips, but they are absolutely life-saving rules.
So, let's zoom out one last time. When you put it all together, the pricing, the licensing, the complaints, the safety, what's the bigger picture here? What is NEPRA really trying to do?
At the end of the day, it all comes down to a really tough balancing act. On one side, you've got the power companies that need to be able to make money and invest for the future. On another, you've got the government and its policies, and on the third and most important side, you have millions of consumers, that's us, whose rights and safety have to be protected. NEPRA is right in the middle of all of that, trying to keep it all in balance.
And that really brings us to the final, big question about the future. Because let's face it, the energy game is changing faster than ever. We've got new technologies, renewable energy, massive climate challenges. So the question we're left with is this. As the game evolves, how does the referee, how does NEPRA, update its rulebook to make sure the game stays fair, reliable, and safe for every single one of us?